Lord, you made me.
You know who I am.
Lord, you made me.
You know who I am.
Lord, you made me.
You know who I am.
Lord, you made me.
You know who I am.
Dirty, worthless, and grotesque in nature.
Hey everybody, my name is Cheston Green. I am an artist. I am a singer-songwriter, but most of all, I'm a believer. And today we are here with my brother Wayne. Wayne, could you tell them about yourself?
Hi, my name is Wayne Chisholm. I'm actually an associate pastor at a church in Dundalk. I'm also a musician and a wannabe songwriter. Don't do it very well, but yeah, I'm a worship leader and believer in Jesus Christ, and that's should be the most uniting thing. Well, music and a belief in Jesus Christ should be the two most uniting things on this earth.
Yeah. So me and Wayne have come together today to have a conversation with one another about race and religion. This started from a post that I made on Facebook about my experience as being a Black man with the support of white people. And Wayne and I are connected through a group that I created called Oh My Brother, which is a organization that I am building with 4 other brothers to just have some male empowerment as it relates to Christianity. So we try to uplift each other through posts and conversations and different virtual technology now because of we're all in this quarantine. And Wayne commented on my post, and his comment it pricked my heart, and then his second comment actually brought me to tears. And if you want to see what he said, I don't know, I'm going to try to put a picture in here so you can see what the post said. But it really moved me. And so I, in the midst of everything that's going on, have been asking God, how can there be some type of reconciliation? How can there be some type of change? And the one thing that I felt was doable on my end, because I don't always have all the wherewithal to have these major things happen, right, is to have a conversation. And so I inboxed Wayne, and you know somebody has a good heart when your mother says, "Oh my God, I love their response." And so Wayne's response was moving, and I just thought it would be just beneficial for believers to see a Black man and a white man come together and have a conversation, a hard conversation for some that talks about race and religion. I do believe, and I don't feel the need to go through all these scriptures, but we all know that the Bible speaks to racism. That was the biggest challenge, I would say, in the New Testament as it related to people, is this whole back and forth of Jews and Gentiles. And whenever we see Gentiles, that was any race that was outside of the Jewish culture. And with all that being said, that is the reason that we're here today. So thank you for watching this. Feel free to post questions, give commentary. One of the things that I think me and Wayne both have the same heart on is we're not here to debate. We're just here to have a better understanding. And with having a better understanding, you have to be slow to speak. You have to really just take time to listen. So with all that being said, Wayne, I know you gave a short introduction, but tell us a little bit more about yourself, and let's just start there. So what was your upbringing like? You're from Dundalk, which is here in Maryland, which is is that Baltimore County, or?
It's just outside Baltimore County, and I actually grew up a little bit further east, but still within 5 to 10 miles of the city line.
Okay.
I am, born and raised basically in the church, predominantly white churches. Growing up, I'm the son of a police officer, but I always, especially in this time, I always have to preface that I'm the son of a good police officer. He retired after 24 years, and spotless record and things like that. And I've always been brought up to see people as children of God. You know, um, God is a diverse God. You know, um, I know white people are very well meaning when they say, "Well, I don't see color," but it's kind of like, well, actually, you kind of need to, because that's celebrating the diversity that God made. It'd be like saying, "Well, I don't see the flowers." Well, why not? God made them for us to enjoy. You
Yeah.
know, I think it's stuff that should be celebrated, because we serve a diverse God.
Mhm.
I have a guy at church, good friend of mine. Now he's a health nut. He's really tall. He's slender. He's muscular. I'm short, not so slender, not so muscular. But we always joke around that we call ourselves twins. I don't know if you ever remember the '80s movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
I don't, but now I remember that there was a movie called Twins. I don't remember what happened in the movie, but now I'm going to go back and look at it because you brought it up.
Basically, through some kind of experiment, these two were twins, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Olympiad, and Danny DeVito, who's like, a weeble, So him and I always tease that, we're twins, but the truth of the matter is we're both made in the image of God.
Hmm.
We look nothing alike, but man, we're both made in the image of God. And, that's kind of how I was brought up is, you see people, as in the image of God. So, that's kind of how I was raised. I went to some mixed schools, but I really, like I was telling Cheston the other day, I'm not one that has a ton of black friends, but the ones I have, I really listen to because I want to hear their insight. I really just, I want to know the struggle and all that, because it's something that I can't relate to.
Hmm. Hmm. Most definitely. So I have been in Baltimore. Well, I'll say Maryland because it's a little easier. The years kind of get blurry. I've been in Maryland for about almost 8 years. I am from the South. I'm a product of the South. I'm a Southern boy, born and raised. I have had very unique experiences in general, but I think they're experiences that all or are predominantly African American men go through. I've been accused of stealing. I've been accused, or I have been singled out before, and that's all a part of my upbringing. But I think the beauty in it is I found when I found the truth of God's word and what He really desires from us as people, and like started coming into my own development of my own faith. I was in high school. So I got saved when I was like 9. High school, specifically, I want to say around the 9th grade, 10th grade, kind of coming into my own, I started really having a different understanding, or a broadening my understanding of who Christ was. And as I began to do that, I started seeing people that I grew up with having diversity within the Black culture, within the white culture. I've been the only Black person in the classroom before. I've been one of maybe 5 in a classroom before. I also went to a HBCU, so that gave a whole opposite perspective of what it is to be in education and being Black. I think one of the most important things that I realized is that when it's all said and done, we are all people. Kirk Franklin wrote a song called The Blood Song. And on this song, he had, I want to say, Crystal Lewis, maybe Yolanda Adams. He had all these different people of different nationalities on this one song. And the song's theme was, doesn't matter what color you are, as long as your blood is red. And that's who God can save. And so, I had my friends who were Black, and then I had friends who were white. And at that time, some of the people who really, I really walked with and had some real conversations with were white. I had a friend who he would pick me up for Bible study. His name was Matt. He would pick me up for Bible study for school because we would have Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And it started, I wasn't an athlete in school. It started with, they wanted somebody to come sing. And I remember them saying, like, we don't want to just have white people sing. We want to have Black people sing because we want everybody to feel involved and everybody to feel welcome. And for me, that was important. It was important because it allowed me to be who I was in a setting that maybe had not been exposed to my expression, and finding ways to kind of bridge the gap. And I've always thought that, like, we all are one. We all brothers and sisters. I don't care what the race is. But this was a time that it kind of planted a seed of being able to have hard conversations and being able to unify. And I remember some of the Black kids being like, what you doing all them white people singing? I'm like, what's wrong with it? And vice versa. I was able to bring, I have more of a Pentecostal upbringing. My dad is Southern Baptist. My mom is Pentecostal. My dad's church, I didn't go there as often. When we did, it was like Sunday school, because that was a whole different kind of like setup. Like, they didn't have a service every Sunday. It was certain Sundays they had service. The other Sundays was Sunday school. Most times I ended up being there for Sunday school. But on my mom's church, like, I had all like these. I was able to take that expression to something that was different from mine. But the other cool thing is that my mom always raised me on diverse music within gospel or Christian, however you want to look at the coin. So I remember her buying like the Hosanna tapes with Ron Canoli and some of the other people. I don't remember their names. I didn't know it was Ron Canoli at the time. I just knew this man's voice. I'm like, that's a Black man singing something that sounds like they sing at the white church. And I liked it because it was him still being soulful, and his expression felt authentic. And so I guess the best way to say it is, like, I just had a very diverse experience. I remember singing in gospel choirs with white and Black. I remember one of my friends, Amber, brought this song, and now it's going to leave me. It says, I'll rise up and take my crown. And I won't defeat. I can't think of the words now, but it was this beautiful song that we used to sing in like a cappella with 4-part harmony. And so it was like really cool for me to see races come together for Jesus. So that's probably the best way to describe my upbringing, and how like religion and race kind of coincide. Wayne, I know we talked the other day, and one of the things that you said to me that was pretty powerful was you spoke to the hashtag Black Lives Matter. I want to hear from you. What does that mean to you? And what does it mean to you? And also, why does the hashtag become confrontational sometimes to white people?
Okay. So to quote a friend of mine I was talking to the other day, sometimes like Facebook memories and time hop can be your worst enemy, because you see the journey you've been on since then. Mm-hmm. And, I think I got it right away when I heard the Black Lives thing, where it wasn't so much like, well, they're not saying I don't matter. But I think one of the connotations is, and let's be honest, the media never does a good job of really portraying things well, because they want ratings. Let's be honest, most of the time when they portray Christians on TV, it's the crazy ones. They don't portray the ones that are out feeding the homeless. They don't do that. So of course, when you grow up kind of more conservative and white, the things you'll see in that media is, the ones that are basically, they basically just say they hate cops. And then, so I can see why sometimes people are like, well, hold on, wait a second, that's not cool. But what really, I'm one of those people where I like to research things before I post. Mm-hmm. I don't post a lot of political stuff on Facebook, mainly because I want to make sure if I put something out there, I don't have to retract it later.
Yeah.
And and I also try to put as much as I can from a biblical standpoint versus a political standpoint. But the thing with the Black Lives Matter movement, that the reason I don't get bothered by it is just because I don't see it as them saying that I don't matter because I'm not Black. I think what I said the other day is, sometimes people need to be reassured that they do matter. And especially, I mean, let's be honest, this past week has probably, again, not being Black, I can't necessarily speak to the experience, but I'm sure a lot of Black people right now are wondering if society even cares.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to say to somebody, your Black life matters, I don't have an issue with that, because right now you're questioning whether or not your life matters. Well, as a child of God, I need to let you know, yeah, your Black life not only matters to me, but it matters to the God that created you. It matters to the God who is grieving with your community right now, because let's be honest, this has just been ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, and also, being part of a community that doesn't quite sure, probably, I mean, I'm sure you guys are probably wondering, like, what do we do next? Because you've done the peaceful protests. Nobody pays attention. Now I do believe there's a difference between protesting and the riots. And from what I'm hearing, it seems like a lot of the people that are doing the destruction aren't even from the areas that the destruction's happening.
Right.
Because that's something like when, yeah. So, because that's something I wondered when the Freddie Gray thing was happening. Like, how could people do this to their own neighborhood? To find out that it wasn't the neighborhood people, because what you saw on the local news, but not on the national news, was the next morning when all the locals went out to clean up the broken glass and to sweep up the streets and to start the repairs. So it's like the peace, in a society where it seems like peaceful protests get you nowhere, violent protests get you nowhere. I mean, let's be honest, it's been 5 years since Freddie Gray, 5 years last month since Freddie Gray, and nothing's really changed in Baltimore. I mean, there's been a couple better things that have happened. There's been a little bit more accountability with the police department, but murders have gone up exponentially. Been over 300 murders for the last 5 years. So nothing that's been done has seemed to made any change. That can't make you feel like you matter at this point. So for me I have no problem saying Black Lives Matter, because I feel like, the African-American community needs to know that they do matter, even though society is kind of throwing them a different message. And, I mean, I don't know one person who wouldn't say, oh, well, of course all lives matter. But as a community right now that's hurting so much, I think that, especially as a white man, I need to let you know that your life does matter to me, So, I mean, I don't know if I said it as well now as I did the other day, but
Yeah, I guess the question though is there, and I understand I am talking to one white man. You don't have the answer for everybody, right? But my hope is that in our conversation, there's some light shed, there's some awareness or enlightenment that happens for people on either side of the fence, the minorities or the majorities. So I guess the part that sometimes as an African American, and I've gotten this in the conversations that I've had specifically in the last few days, we don't quite understand why the thought of Black Lives Matter is so, I don't know if the word is intimidating or if it's so, it almost sounds like when we say Black Lives Matter, sometimes white people feel like it's an insult to white people directly.
You